The WNBA legend has been one of Clark's loudest critics, constantly moving the goalposts on what excellence means. Swoops has become the voice of the older generation's resentment, downplaying Clark's records, even falsely claiming she played 5 years in college. And yet the league keeps putting her on air for analysis and commentary. For Clark, watching the league pay someone who actively works to diminish her accomplishments is just one more sign of the disrespect. It's a toxic workplace. In any other industry, HR would step in if a senior consultant publicly misrepresented a top performer's resume. Apparently, in the WNBA, that's just business as usual. Given this constant chipping away at her credibility, it's no wonder she'd want distance from the league's inner circle. Music, the silence from Clark's camp says everything. Normally, a publicist or agency would jump in to shut down spiraling rumors like this. Music. Caitlyn is proud to represent her country and excited about future opportunities. That's the kind of statement they'd release.
But we've heard nothing.
Dead silence. That silence suggests serious conversations are happening behind closed doors.
It suggests she's weighing her options and fully aware she holds the power here. She doesn't need the Olympics to grow her brand. She's already a global star.
But her continued connection with casual fans matters a lot for the Olympics' sake. Think about the physical toll this season took on her. The full court pressure, the constant double teams, the hits that never got whistled. Despite absorbing the most contact and logging the most minutes, she still dragged her team into the playoffs. And after all that, instead of the league's support, she got a commissioner who couldn't even shield her reputation from the abuse. It's a textbook case of an organization failing its best asset. In the NBA, players who feel disrespected have requested trades or sat out games entirely.
What Clark is doing, essentially, is a global-scale version of load management.
She's prioritizing her physical and mental health over a gold medal that the committee didn't even want her to chase in the first place. All of this has split the fan base into two camps. On one side, Music longtime WNBA loyalists who think Clark is overrated and that the league was fine before she showed up. On the other, millions of new fans who believe she's being targeted and mistreated. That divide is bad for business. Closing that gap should be the commissioner's job. Instead, her comments Music widened it. By framing the backlash as a marketing angle, she alienated the very fans who rallied around Clark. Those fans will follow Clark wherever she goes. They won't stick around to watch a team that turned its back on their favorite player. This year's Olympic ratings were solid, but without Clark, the home games in LA in 2028 could be a ratings disaster.
Then there's the Angel Reese factor.
The Reese-Clark rivalry is one of the most electric storylines in sports right now. The league has mishandled it from the start. A rivalry born in the college championship that carried over into the pros.
They let it turn ugly, with players fueling the toxicity and fans' Music taking it too far, all because it generated clicks. The league let things spiral when Reese cheered on a hit against her rival.
But cheap shots and hard-nosed basketball are two Music different things entirely. Every single time, Clark has taken the high road, refusing to play the victim, refusing to fire back. But everyone has a limit. Music. And if she walks away from Indiana, the fallout for 28 could be massive. This might be her quiet, professional way of saying, I'm done with the chaos. The LA Olympics are supposed to be the crown jewel of American women's sports. This is the moment the WNBA is expected to break through globally.
But without the most recognizable female athlete on the planet, that moment simply doesn't happen the same way.
If Clark holds firm and sits out, the US roster will still be talented.
On Music, but they won't be cultural icons, just a very good basketball team.
Clark brings the star power. Music. She pulls in people who don't even care about basketball.
Without her, the event loses its shine. The commissioner clearly knows this, and the panic is starting to show.
Now let's talk about the financial leverage at play. WNBA players are currently pushing back on their collective bargaining agreement. They want a bigger share of revenue, better benefits, and more money. And a lot of that leverage depends on Clark's contribution to the league's growth. But that growth isn't guaranteed if Clark is at odds with the league and steps back from the national program. Music. That leverage evaporates the moment she takes a step back, or stops actively promoting the league's interests. The rest of the players need to understand, biting the hand that feeds you is a dangerous game.
They wanted the private jets. Music. They wanted the 7-figure paychecks that came with the boom, just not the person who actually created the boom. You can't have music one without the other. There's also a genuinely sad layer to all of this.
Growing up, playing for the Indiana Fever was Caitlin Clark's dream.
It's right there in her old interviews. She wanted to become the next Diana Taurasi or Sue Music Bird. Being rejected by that very system, by the idols she looked up to, has to be devastating.
Music. It's a loss of innocence, both for her and for the sport.
It exposes the ugly underside of professional sports, politics, jealousy, and music gatekeeping. When she finally speaks on this, she probably won't come across angry.
It'll almost certainly read as disappointment. Music and fans will feel that disappointment right alongside her.
They watched a young star arrive, ready to lift everyone up, only to watch the people she admired tear her down instead.
Getting benched wasn't just about missing minutes on the court. It was a test of her resolve. The selection committee wanted to prove the system is bigger than any one player.
They wanted to show the league could win without the Clark effect. Technically, they were right.
They did win gold, but their margin of victory was smaller than expected, and there was noticeably less excitement around it than there could have been. They won the battle but lost the war.
Wojciech, they proved they could win games, but they missed the bigger opportunity.
In an era of viral moments and global branding, music seizing the moment matters. Clark represents the future.
The group chose to cling to the past instead.
So what happens now?
The ball is in the commissioner's court.
She needs to repair this relationship, and fast. Not with some hollow corporate speak apology, a real sincere one. She has to show Clark that the league values her safety and dignity more than a staged competition. But if she doesn't, this walkout rumor becomes reality. Clark has every resource to build her own empire. She could launch her own media company, leagues, or camps.
She can be Caitlin Clark without the WNBA, but the WNBA cannot afford to be relevant without Caitlin Clark. The league may have just torn up its own golden ticket.
Given the Olympic snub, the on-court targeting, and the commissioner's tone-deaf comments, it's completely understandable that Caitlin Clark is reportedly looking for an exit from Indiana.
Even after being told to wait her turn, she might decide to play an entirely different game now.
If she truly walks away from the national team, the league only has itself to blame. They chose the comfort of the veterans over the potential of their rookie star. They chose the status quo over the revolution. And now they may have to watch that revolution unfold, music, without them. The next few months will be pivotal.
Will there be a reconciliation?
Will the veterans extend an olive branch? Or will the divide just keep growing? Second, one thing is certain. Caitlin Clark is far more than a rookie happy just to be in the room. She's a force of nature, a business, and a brand. She's fully aware of her worth now, and she's done tolerating disrespect.
The final straw was the commissioner openly admitting the league treats her struggles as a marketing tool.
Music. Even after winning gold in Paris, the WNBA is at real risk of losing its golden goose. Do you think Clark is right to stand up for herself?
Or should she have stayed quiet and waited her turn until 2028?
The next decade of women's basketball may hinge on the answer. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Music subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. Everyone figured she'd bide her time, flash a smile for the cameras, and quietly accept whatever came her way. They expected Caitlin Clark to be grateful just for a seat in the arena, happy to learn from the veterans while parked at the end of the bench. But it turns out the WNBA underestimated its biggest star, music. Now the fallout is rolling in wave after wave. Sources claim the golden girl of women's basketball has privately told people close to her that she's done playing for the Indiana Fever. The strangest part? She wasn't pushed out by the players alone.
It looks like Commissioner Cathy Engelbert may have unintentionally given cover to the toxic environment that led to this shocking decision.
Instead of patiently waiting her turn, she's reportedly ready to walk. If the rumors hold up, the league is on the verge of losing its biggest global draw. It started with what many are calling the worst roster decision in sports history. A call that shaped everything that followed. The name responsible for sold-out arenas and skyrocketing ratings was nowhere on the Indiana Fever roster when the Paris squad was announced. Music. The selection committee hid behind the excuse that Clark hadn't earned her stripes yet, claiming the team needed veteran chemistry to chase gold. Let's be honest, nobody bought that it was purely about basketball. Before she ever stepped on the floor, The decision-makers benched her for the entire summer, while the whole world was watching her signature threes and highlight reel assists. The message to the rookie was loud and clear. You can be rich and famous, but you're still not one of us. But getting left off the roster was only the opening move.
If snubbing her from the team was a sign of indifference, what happened once the season tipped off was a full-blown attack.
The moment the season started, it was open season on Clark. And if you're enjoying this video, drop a like and hit subscribe. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers watching haven't subscribed yet. It costs nothing and takes 2 seconds, but it means a lot to us.
So, did you hit subscribe? Perfect. Thanks so much for the support.
Now, back to the story. We watched blindside hip checks, including the infamous hit from Kennedy Carter that sent Clark to the floor before the ball was even inbounded. We watched relentless physical targeting, face guarding, and hard shoves that went far past normal basketball roughness.
But it wasn't just the players.
From the top of the league, there was dead silence.
It seemed like WNBA leadership couldn't care less that their rookie phenom was being hazed on national TV. They refused to hand out swift discipline before public backlash forced their hand,
letting the story spiral out of control. Music. They dragged their feet, turning fouls into flagrant calls.
That failure to protect her set off a moment that changed everything.
Just as tension seemed to be cooling, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert stepped in and threw gasoline on the fire. In a recent CNBC interview that can only be called a PR nightmare, she tried to downplay the hostility
toward Clark by comparing it to the Magic Johnson-Larry Bird rivalry of the 1980s. She talked about marketing value and how much this rivalry meant to the league's bottom line.
Smiling the whole time, she completely failed to call out the very real, very dark undercurrent of prejudice and hostility swirling around the players and the fan base. Music. It was a massive misstep.
By treating the hate and physical targeting as just another business metric, she effectively confirmed everything Clark had been feeling, that she was alone in this.
Music.
It made painfully clear that the league cared more about drama and dollars than about player safety or mental health.
Music. It was about the spotlight. Clark is about to find out how real that is. Just like Diana Taurasi's now infamous warning didn't age well once Clark went on to lead the league in assists and shatter rookie records. The veterans thought excluding her from the Olympics would protect their legacy and preserve the sanctity of the locker room. Instead, they may have just cut the cord to the next generation of fans. Music. Sure, they won gold.
But they lost the PR war and alienated millions of new fans who only tuned in for number 22. This is where the story takes a dramatic, possibly irreversible turn.
Insider chatter and fresh speculation suggest Clark isn't just sulking at home over missing Paris. She's reportedly taking steps to protect her own name. Word is, after getting benched by the Olympic Committee, physically targeted by her peers, Music, and left unprotected by the commissioner,
Clark has decided to shift her focus away from the national program entirely. It's a genuinely powerful move. She knows she's the reason for the ratings. She knows she's driving ticket sales and jersey sales.
If Indiana Fever doesn't want her fully in their corner, she doesn't need them either. She knows she's bigger than the badge now. Rumor has it she's quietly signaled that if the current culture doesn't change, she has zero interest in future national team invitations.
If this walkout is real, the consequences will be massive. We're talking about the possibility that league politics and a total lack of support could push the face of the sport to turn down representing her own country. It flips the entire power dynamic. The WNBA and the Fever have operated on the assumption that players need the system to succeed, and that an Olympic medal is the ultimate prize.
But Clark has proven she is the system.
If she reportedly walks away from the national team,
she strips them of their most valuable marketing asset for the 4 years leading into the LA Olympics. Music. The commissioner has no idea what kind of financial disaster this could be. For LA 2028, they needed her face on the billboards.
Without her, they're trying to sell a product the new massive audience simply isn't buying.
Let's look at the numbers, because if Clark really does walk,
they paint a grim picture for the league. Before she arrived,
the WNBA was struggling to turn a profit, playing in half-empty arenas and flying commercial. Since her draft, league-wide attendance has jumped more than 40%.
The league signed a media rights deal worth over $2 billion, and TV viewership has tripled. Every veteran in the league is now flying better and earning more because of that money. The irony is brutal.
League management and the veterans have treated her like an outsider.
Music. Meanwhile, they're all cashing checks written by her fame. If she chooses to focus solely on the Indiana Fever and step back from international duty,
she's essentially taking her talent and walking away from a national team, left leaning on an old guard that just doesn't move the needle the same way. To understand why Clark might make a decision this drastic,
you actually have to look closer at the commissioner's specific missteps. When asked about the ugliest side of the online discourse, the racism, the sexism,
the threats, Engelbert pivoted straight to a business-friendly comparison to the physical NBA rivalries of the 1980s. Even though those old rivalries got physical, the kind of venom we're seeing now simply wasn't part of that era. Music for a young athlete like Clark,
who has stayed composed and professional through all of it.
The message must have landed like, as long as people are watching, we don't care how they treat you. It confirmed every suspicion that the league secretly resents her success while still profiting off her influence. And then there's the chemistry excuse used to justify keeping her off the Olympic roster.
The selection committee claimed there wasn't enough time to fold her into the system.
They argued her fast-paced, high-usage, music deep-range shooting style wouldn't mesh with the veterans' more deliberate, slower tempo, but music roster looked slow and disjointed.
After that game, the walkout rumors stopped sounding like speculation and started sounding like a real possibility. Why would she want to be part of a system that's actively betting against the way she plays?
Then there's the Sheryl Swoopes factor.